15-year-old accused of sexual assault earlier this year is now suspected in another sex assault incident.
The incidents happened at 2 different high schools.
And many have questions, including why was this suspect allowed to go back into another school? And why didn't the school system or the sheriff's office notify the community about the first arrest, the first assault back in May? And that was when a student at Stonebridge High School in Ashburn reported to a school resource officer that she'd been sexually assaulted in a bathroom. After a 2-month investigation, a 14-year-old fellow student, who is now 15, was arrested and charged in July. The boy's court appearance was pushed back because DNA evidence wasn't ready, so he was released from custody but required to wear an ankle monitor and have no contact with the victim. The girl's father was arrested for disorderly conduct during a school board meeting in June.
Is wrong too. You are who you are. You cannot change that.
She's trying to disrupt things. She's trying to disrupt things. Let's continue on.
I want to ask you about one of these parents who's made headlines because a lot of people remember this case, this showdown in Loudoun County, which is outside D.C. here. He had a daughter who'd been sexually assaulted. He went to a school board. He was demanding information, trying to get answers. It got pretty heated at one point, and he actually got arrested. His name is Scott Smith. He expressed frustration this summer when he found out he was going to have to face trial this fall on a remaining charge. He said, "I have yet to hear from our governor, Glenn Youngkin." Is your administration in contact with him about his case?
We are in contact with him, and in fact, I spoke with Mr. Smith on Friday, and I had the privilege of telling Mr. Smith that I would pardon him, and we did that on Friday. We righted a wrong. He should have never been prosecuted here. This was a dad standing up for his daughter, and just to remind everyone, his daughter had been sexually assaulted in the bathroom of a school, and no one was doing anything about it. And in fact, it took the election of a new governor, me, and my directive to our Attorney General, Jason Miyares, to investigate this, to uncover the fact that the superintendent had in fact covered it up. And he was immediately terminated when the final report from the grand jury was issued. Mr. Smith did what any father would do, what any parent would do, was stand up for their child. And even worse, what then happened was the perpetrator was moved to another school and sexually assaulted another young woman.
Scott Smith has gone public with his story on Fox News. He said he was trying to speak about his daughter's assault.
Under the impression from the prosecutor that this sexual predator was being held on in-house arrest with an ankle monitor and would not return to school until these court sessions were done. You know, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. I understand that, but we do have to protect everyone at the same time.
Now, because the teenage suspect's case was still pending at the start of this school year, he was enrolled at nearby Broad Run High School. On October 6th, he was arrested again and charged with sexually assaulting another girl. He is now back in juvenile detention. Now, Loudoun County Public Schools says it worked with police, and as a rule, they do not conduct their own investigations when it comes to criminal matters until that criminal matter is resolved in the courts or in the juvenile system. The sheriff's office says they didn't send out a community notification because the victim and the suspect in the May incident were known to each other, and they did not want to inadvertently identify the victim of a sexual assault.
A lot to unpack there, Mel. Can you explain in a little bit more detail why the teen was released after that first arrest?
Right. So we talked with the Commonwealth's attorney, and she says that there were no indications that this teen would re-offend. They had conversations with the parole office. They had conversations with the victim's family. And it was determined that based on history, that it would be okay to release him back to the community.
7 News has obtained a disturbing video that was taken at Stonebridge High School in the Loudoun County just days after a 2021 sexual assault. Now, that attack launched a nationwide discussion about how school districts handle sexual assaults.
We have a lot of questions for the Loudoun County Sheriff. His school resource officer in the cell phone video admits to not allowing a Loudoun County family to leave and take their daughter, who was just assaulted, to the sheriff's office.
You're watching a cell phone video recorded on June 1st, 2021, just 4 days after the daughter of Scott and Jessica Smith was sexually assaulted in a bathroom at Stonebridge High School in Loudoun County. Mom and dad are back at Stonebridge because their daughter called and said a promised safety plan wasn't in place on her first day back to class. The Smiths, escorted by a Loudoun County Sheriff's deputy, came face to face with School Resource Officer Tavis Henry, who's also a deputy with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. On the day of the attack, the Smiths tell 7 News they asked Officer Henry multiple times if they could leave Stonebridge and take their daughter to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, only 9 miles away.
You know what the first thing I asked you was? Why can't I take my wife and daughter, and he was involved in this too, why can't I take my wife and daughter to the Sheriff's Department? And what did you guys say? That investigation needs to happen here. You can't take your daughter because it happened here.
Correct,
did you not say that?
Correct, because
did you say that?
Correct.
Officer Henry's boss, Loudoun County Sheriff Mike Chapman, has refused for months to meet with 7 News and view the cell phone video, plus answer questions on camera. Sheriff Chapman emailed saying the family was not detained and were free to leave at any time. Watch the cell phone video again. It appears to tell a different story.
You know what the first thing I asked you was? Why can't I take my wife and daughter, and he was involved in this too, why can't I take my wife and daughter to the Sheriff's Department? And what did you guys say? That investigation needs to happen here. You can't take your daughter because it happened here.
Correct.
On the day of the attack, the Smiths say they had to wait almost 2 hours before they were allowed to leave Stonebridge and speak to detectives with the Sheriff's Special Victims Unit, who are in charge of investigating sexual assaults. The Sheriff's Office claims it was an hour and 29-minute wait.
This officer, this deputy, needed to call SVU immediately.
The Smiths filed a complaint against Officer Henry on August 24th, 2022. It took the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office just 5 days to investigate and send the Smiths this letter stating an investigation was conducted and the results are not being made public. Scott Smith is still asking why the school was never locked down right after the attack.
They allowed a rapist to run the halls. You know, they found him trying to sneak home on the school bus. I mean, what kind of security is that?
A special grand jury created by the Virginia Attorney General's office to investigate the assault believed the school should have been locked down. In its report, it was dismayed at the lack of concern regarding the assailant being at large in the school for over 3 hours. The Sheriff's Office says only school officials can lock down a school, and school policy states only a law enforcement officer can lift a lockdown. Officer Henry told the Smiths in the cell phone video he had to finish his report on the day of the attack before they could leave.
You would not let me take my family to the Sheriff's Department.
But I explained to you when I said I have to do at least my totality of my report.
You detained them. You detained them here.
Officer Henry's initial investigation at the school, according to Jessica Smith, included him asking just one question to their teenage daughter. The sexual assault really happened, right?
I feel that the SRO didn't believe the victim, which led to all the failures there.
The school district hired its legal counsel to investigate the sexual assault. Its report stated Scott Smith arrived at Stonebridge on the day of the attack and began shouting and took an aggressive step towards a principal.
I don't think I was aggressive. I think I was upset, and they were also keeping my wife and child from me.
Officer Henry has not responded to our request for an interview.
My daughter had just been raped. You know, where are the law enforcement? Where are the paramedics?
Sheriff Chapman didn't directly answer a lot of my questions, including, did he ever reach out to the Smith family after the sexual assault? The Smiths tell me after more than 2 years, they've never heard from Sheriff Chapman.